These are the facts from the NCA. The NCA is hereby directed to conduct a billing integrity test for data services and to provide quarterly reports to the ministry starting from Q3. The NCA must check data billing for scenarios involving popular apps and websites. And if operators are found to be billing inaccurately, appropriate sanctions should be applied. In conclusion, I am confident we will see further drops in the actual prices of the data offerings when the Finance Ministry takes action on the tax handles in the sector. I'm continuing my engagement with the Honorable Finance Minister to get his approval for the rationalization of some components in the tax builder in the sector. If we are able to have a proper rationalization of the taxes, we should see a drop in the almost 39% tax builder in the price of data in the country. If that drops, we would insist that the telcos pass that on to their customers. Another area I am vigorously pursuing is with the Minister of Energy and Green Transitions and the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. If we are granted a telecom tariff for the sector, it will lead to further price drops for offerings currently available. Because until they give us a telecom tariff, as the mining sector has, the cost of delivering the service will continue to be inhibited. I remain committed to delivering on the mandate of the ministry as entrusted into my care by His Excellency the President. I will continue to engage robustly with stakeholders in the sector to protect their investments in Ghana and make Ghana a friendly destination for investment. But I encourage them to invest more. Ultimately, my heart is with the people of Ghana. I will serve you with heart, with sweat, and with blood. And we will fix the mess that I have inherited in this ministry. So help me God. Thank you for your attention, and God bless our whole Ghana. And so, I will field questions from the media. If there are any questions that anyone has on the announcements that have been made, I'll be willing and glad to take those questions. I'll take them in batches of 3. Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
I want more clarity on the prices for the data packages for Telecom. I don't know whether I heard you correctly, but you said the 400 cedis one is presently at 90 gig.
190. It's currently at 190 gig, and now they will offer 250 gig for the same price.
Would it not come at a cost to them?
Well, that's why I have not done this unilaterally. And that's why for those who have always said, just announce, just announce. I'm glad today you have all the 3 CEOs here. And we will not have an instance where you will see people either go to court to challenge the directive or go to the electronic tribunal. But we have worked together to get to this point. And that's the value of consultation. They say the patient dog, it's the fattest bone. And once again, I extend my gratitude to the CEOs for the work they have done over the last 4 months with me to get to this place. It's not the end of the journey. There's still a lot more we will do together for the Ghanaian people to make their businesses profitable, but to make data accessible and affordable for the Ghanaian people. So yes, it will come at cost to them, but they also know that they have a responsibility to the Ghanaian people.
Yes, a follow-up. I mean, this one is a good idea, but there's a problem of poor network. Poor network. You can have 1,000 gig, but if you don't have good network, you cannot use it. Telecom, for instance, which I believe government has shares in it, their network is quite bad. Very bad. I entered this building, I tried, I said to it, and I was shocked. In the middle of the communication, and there's no good network.
Well, that's why I just addressed in my address. I spoke specifically to the telecell intervention that we're making. Apart from the fact that we've offered both telecell and maybe because I use their official names, Ghana Telecommunication and Scancom. Scancom is MTN. Ghana Telecommunication is Telecell. We've offered them spectrum. Now, just so that we appreciate what it is, the ability to give you quality of service, the ability for you to be able to stream your data or your videos without them buffering depends on the amount of bandwidth and spectrum, and the amount of bandwidth, and that also depends on the amount of spectrum that the telecom companies have. I know that both companies, including even AT, have been asking for spectrum for the last 4 years. They've not gotten it. But that's why I said it comes back to diagnosing what the problems are and fixing them. And that's why we're offering spectrum to MTN, we're offering spectrum to Telecel, and both companies, as a sign of their commitment to improving quality of service, have agreed to buy the spectrum that we're offering to them. Spectrum is also not very cheap, I must be honest about that. It's pretty expensive, you know, but they are paying for the spectrum. Once we complete the deal by the first week of July, that will give them additional spectrum and bandwidth that they can then use to improve the quality of the network. Again, it is not a switch that gets turned on immediately they get the spectrum. They need to do investments in their network, they need to bring in new transmitters, they need to bring in new switches, they need to do configuration, and that's why we've given them a quarter, 3 months. So if you listen again in my speech, I spoke about the fact that we're giving them spectrum by end of July, first week of July, we expect that to be done, but we expect them to complete it by the deployment of that spectrum by end of Q3, which is September, July to September. And I've asked the regulator to immediately begin testing for the improvement in the quality of service in Q4, which is October to December. So yes, we will see, but again, in the specific case of Telecel, I again in my speech stated that I had given them approval, I had given the regulator approval this week for them to grant them a connecting entity license so that they can begin to offer improved services using the 2100 megahertz spectrum band that's held by NGIC. That again is policy direction we're giving to allow them be able to get access immediately to some spectrum that can improve their quality of service. But let me not mince words. 2 weeks ago, I had a meeting in this room with the CEOs and showed the quality of the network and the status of the infrastructure. By end of Q4, the NCA will bring us the quality of service report. We would again show it to the country, and if there are failings anywhere, we would apply sanctions. I hope we don't get there. Next question. Yes. Kindly identify yourself. You can speak, but kindly identify yourself so the room knows who is speaking.
Thank you very much. My name is Sami Dawuda. I work with Tech Focus 24. I'm wondering why Telecel, AT didn't get some of the spectrum. Maybe some explanation can come from the ending. Secondly, if I heard you rightly, MTN is supposed to reduce prices by 15%, while the two others are supposed to reduce prices by 10%. I'm a bit confused about how come the SMP is rather reducing prices at a bigger margin than the other two.
All right. I'll start with your last question. I did not say that they should reduce prices. Let's be very clear. My directive is loud and clear. I have not asked them to reduce prices. I have asked them to increase value offerings. There are two different things. And if you again listen to my speech, I said that the committee that had a 14-day mandate identified 3 key areas: value, price, quality of service. So we've not, and I've stated that prices will drop when we see the movement at the finance ministry on the tax handles, and when we see movement at the energy ministry on the telecom tariff. What we are doing as a regulator and as a policy driver right now is on value. We will deal with value and quality of service. Now, why is MTN doing more? Because if you realize, when they were declared SMP about 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, in 2020, so 5 years ago, the ministry directed a 15% increase in their effective rates. So basically, we've reversed that. Because if we had done 10%, they would still effectively have been higher than where they were previously. And I'm minded by the fact that today, as a significant market player, whatever we do on that network affects almost 76% of all mobile network users. And so, as a sign of our commitment to understanding and dealing with the challenges Ghanaians are facing at this point in time, we've taken that decision. It means a lot more loss as well, don't forget, for the SMP, because then they are carrying a lot more burden. Because if you give more value, it's cost to the network. So if if they are the SMP and you are imposing a certain, in quote, levy of some sort, they should carry more than the other two networks. Because if they carry less or the same, then it means that you are not being fair to the other networks that don't have the same market size. And that's why we've created this intentional arbitrage between the reductions. The other question about why AT did not get. Do not forget that AT is a merger between Tigo and Airtel Ghana. And both of them had spectrum holdings which got consolidated. At this point in time, AT is the only company, MNO, that doesn't offer 4G. The ministry is currently in the process of restructuring AT. There's been a public announcement of conversations going on of a possible relationship with a private investor. And so it is important that you consummate that process before you begin the conversation about any spectrum addition, because then the new partners will want to do an assessment of what the asset holdings are today. Those asset holdings should not be fluid relative to spectrum. It should be definite. We finish the negotiations, and then we can always look at what we will do for AT. But don't forget that at this point in time, AT belongs to the government of Ghana 100%. And like I keep saying, all options are still on the table for us relative to AT and what we will do going forward. Thank you. Yes.
Hello, Mr. My name is Parker. I work with our party. Some of the telcos, you know that they give you the right hand and take the left hand. So in this case of reduction, are we not going to see any increase in the airtime usage, or still going to maintain? Thank you.
Well, are you talking of voice or data?
Voice.
This directive does not affect voice.
Yeah. So my question is, now that you're talking about reduction, are they not going to increase?
Okay, so let me be clear.